Hello, everyone. Welcome to the IELCE Civics Network meeting for California for today, September 25th, 2024. I'm thrilled to have you here with me today. I will be the main program specialist presenter, although Paul Kreitzer is also going to be presenting. And Paul, I've made you co-host, just so you know, in case something untoward happens. I hope you don't mind. And please, as it says here at the bottom of my slide, type your name and agency into the chat box. And during the meeting, please register at caadultedtraining.org if you haven't already. That helps us keep track of our guidance that we're giving. And if you're not receiving an email reminder, I sent it Monday late afternoon. Email me your address at lbhoward@casas.org. Please don't put it in the chat because I won't find it there. Well, I'm thrilled to have you with me today, and I hope the start of the school year has gone well for you. Let's get started. So this is our agenda for today. We're going to have a CDE update from the early September meeting. And yes, and a little bit that just came out yesterday we'll be talking about. IELCE and civic participation. We're going to talk about the fall check-in and the COAP correlation to digital skills framework. We have some slides about citizenship preparation, but Portia LaFerla is on vacation today, so I'm just going to leave that information there for you to look at, and if you have any questions, you can contact me. Just a tiny bit of other information. And then we're lucky today to have two presentations, one on CASAS eWORKs, and Paul is going to be doing that for us, about 10 minutes, and then we have Grossmont Adult School here with us today, who's going to talk about their IELCE IET program, which is a model for preparing English learners for the workplace. Those of you who may be new to 243, and those of you who've been doing it for a long time might learn some great strategies and techniques for making these programs even better than you're already doing. So we're excited to have that today. Anything else that you'd like to add to the agenda? And I'm going to be keeping track of my questions. And Paul, if you happen to see a question that I don't deal with, please feel free to let me know. Okie doke. So I think we are ready to move on. Just do that. There we go. So our CDE update, just want to tell you that the last state network meeting, I actually think it was on the 2nd, but it's dated in the, I could be wrong about this because I wasn't there. It's dated in the statewide network meetings down here at the bottom, the link I have here as September 6th, which was a Friday, and it may have been that day, I don't know. But in any case, that's what it's dated. And if you want to see the recording of that meeting, you just go to this link and you can listen to the recording. And I suggest you do, because we're going to be talking about some things today. If you didn't hear Carolyn Zachary talk about it, then you might want to do that again. But I'm going to do my best to offer that information to you. And then there's a meeting every month, usually the first Tuesday of the month. So for those upcoming meetings, I suggest you register here at caadultedtraining.org. Okay, so I'm going to tell you some information that came out at this month's meeting. One of them was to talk about the CalPro IET implementation clinic. And I hate to tell you that the deadline for application is just coming up on Friday, the 27th. So sorry that we're giving you this information just now. But if you want to do an even better job than you're doing, and if you happen to be new to 243, if you just started last year with the grant, it may behoove you to participate in this CalPro online integrated education and training implementation clinic for fall 2024. If you don't happen to do it now, I think they're going to do one every quarter or at least every semester, so you might want to think about doing that. And this is a good thing to do with your team, as it asks you here, so that you get a good start on or a good continuation of what you're doing in your IELCE program. And I want to let you know that for you 243 agencies, again, the IELCE they say plan, but we call it the report and plan, will be due this year on March 31st. They've moved it up a month to give you a little more time to focus on this, and the SIP will be the usual time in April. So you'll have different deadlines for those two, and they're hoping it'll make it easier for you to follow that. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So this is the new stuff. A letter from adultedsupport.o10.us came out yesterday, and then I just saw there was a clarification today. And I sent that letter yesterday to all of you who are on my IELTS Civics Network list. And I will send you after this meeting the clarification. And I have the clarification on my slides here. So my slides are up to date, just so you know. But I will forward you the letter again. And if you're not on my list, please email me at lbhoward@casas.org, and I'll put you on my list, and then I'll forward you this letter. But you may have already gotten it from the CDE if you are on their list. So the first part of the letter, and it was called Clarification Regarding Integrated Education and Training, IET, under Section 243. So this down here at the bottom, that's the name of this letter that was sent. That would have been in the subject line. And it's the first part, I'm not going to go over, it's just sort of describing IELCE programs. This is the description that has always been. And if you went to the new administrator's orientation, I'm sure you saw this. I don't need to go over this, but just a review of what IELCE Section 243 funding is for. But the important part for us now is, and this is where the change comes in. Excuse me, it says, after reviewing the IELCE reports and plans submitted in 2023-24, the Adult Education Office deemed it necessary to refine the designation of certain introductory courses. Okay, that's the key here. Introductory courses discovered in these reports. Effective immediately, the AEO will consider the following courses as workforce preparation. And those of you who've had some of these courses, I know your reviewers have been talking to you about this, and but this is now the rule of the land. And a little bit later in the slideshow, I'm going to tell you how we're going to help you with this. Okay, so don't worry yet. So basically, any introductory course that they would consider that all ESL students need, not necessarily those going into a training program. That's why these are going to be considered workforce preparation. So the title is not so important of it, but the idea that it's introductory, like Google Suites, Microsoft Office, keyboarding, CPR. They didn't add it here, but it would also has always included the what do they call that? Safe Serve. Also is sort of an introductory 10-hour course. It's not considered training. Okay. And on the original email, this note was left out, and it's in the new edition, the new version. The above list of introductory courses identified as workforce preparation is a non-exhaustive list. The AEO may identify other introductory courses. So as we said, it's not in the title so much as it is in what is being taught, okay? That it's basic, appropriate for all learners, not necessarily ones that are preparing for training. The actual training for the job is what's counting for workforce training. Let's see if I have any questions here. Okay, great. Hope, okay. Yeah, so Connor says, what if we have a Microsoft Excel class that results in certification? So this is the kicker, you know, and you know, you are welcome to talk to your CDE consultant about this. We understand that Google Suites and Microsoft Office, et cetera, have their own quote unquote certification, but the certification, and we're going to, do I have that list? Well, I think I can get to that place. So I'll show you what they're looking at for certification. The certification they're talking about is the training program, not necessarily these intermediate steps that of training. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what you're talking about, Connor, that Microsoft Office has certifications, but it's not a training program certification. If you think it is, then please talk to your CD consultant and let them know so that they can reconsider that for you and others that are doing these kind of training programs, okay? But they're thinking that these are basic introductory for any person who wants to learn how to use a computer, and so that they don't lead specifically to a job. So that's what you should talk to your CD consultant about, and that I can't do. And David, thank you so much for being here. And this is the at a glance guide. I hope it's the updated version. Thank you so much. We're going to look at that. And David, if you would like to speak to this, I would very much appreciate it. Or, you know, if you feel like you have anything to add to what I said in answer to Connor. And let me see. Can I explain the difference between workforce preparation and workforce training? So there are three components to IELCE. If you're an IELCE 243 funded agency, you should know this. There's the adult literacy component, workforce preparation, and workforce training. And it's just exactly what it says. The workforce training is the CTE portion, the career technical education. That would be a program perhaps already at your school, teaching auto mechanics or nursing, or one of those programs, or one you have implemented that offers a certification and prepares students for a job. That's workforce training. Anything that prepares the student to go into that training, like these courses, or how to interview for a job, how to write a job resume, etc., that's all considered workforce preparation. Okay. And we have a few answers from Catherine Peacock, one of our CD consultants. Thank you. So this Connor says the certification leads towards a job. Yes. What if the class is stackable and students receive college credit? Yeah, Todd, that was sort of my question too. But again, why don't you talk to your CD consultant about that? But I don't think they're considering that. They're still considering that preparatory according to this list. But if you, again, I'm sure they would be interested to hear what you have to say about that. If you think that this should count as workforce training, then please write to your CD consultant. And why don't you CC me? And this is a new thing, and so I'm sure they would love to hear what you have to say about it. Okay, so let us move on. So this is what action is needed. If your 23-24 IELCE report and plan included any of these courses, it says, please reach out to your CASAS specialist. Your CASAS specialist, or the person who reviewed your report, will also be contacting you. So it behooves you, what I'm asking you to do, and I'll tell you in the next section, is to go to your report, look at it, see if you have any of these courses. And if you do, contact your program specialist. They will also be doing the same and contacting you. And then we need to know how you're going to remove those from your program and what you're going to replace them with. I'm going to tell you more in detail about that. And we're still at the beginning of the year, so we expect that you'll remove those from your training, put them into the workforce preparation if necessary, and then report it appropriately in 24-25 for the March deadline. Okay, and it says, please reference the at a glance guide. It describes it more carefully. David Stang put that link also in the chat, and you will be getting these slides if you are on my list, and you can look at it there. Okay, and let me just finish the slide and then I'll go to your questions. If you have questions, contact your consultant. So please do that. And then, so I'm suggesting also that you might listen to the September 24 WEO network meeting to hear Carolyn Zachary talk about it at slide 8, starting at minute 17:35. And yeah, okay. And so let me go to the questions. Leads towards a job. Yeah, we got that one already. Leading to a career. Okay. So eWORKs would be workforce prep. Let Paul talk about that, okay? Because that's not something that's listed here. If a student is taking workforce prep class and ESL concurrent, that is considered a 243. No, it has to have the 3 components. I'm sorry, I don't see your first name there. Adult literacy, workforce prep, and workforce training. That's what is considered 240, part of the 243 program. You have to have a pathway with all 3 elements. So Jody, yeah, contact me if you have more questions, okay? And okay, and David says, give him a call, fabulous. And Catherine there is given as a link, standards and framework, career technical education, and she says you may find more pertinent information there, okay? So Maren, you said Corey Ryla presented a PowerPoint. They had a list of training and certificates. So that's in the at a glance document, just to tell you, at least as far as I know. And we will be posting the NAO slides as soon as we get them. And Maren, okay, Maren, you're giving all of the rules that were in the list. Yes, that's about what an IELCE program is. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, there it is, all there. Fine, thank you. Okay, and let me just make a list to get the NAO slides up. You can look at the NAO slides that were the new administrator's orientation from last year. I'm pretty sure they use the same ones, but I will try to put up the new ones as soon as I get them. Okay, so let us move on. So this is what the CDE put out yesterday. So now I want to move to how that affects you. So I did write this up. So there's two things that are happening now. One is related to what we just saw, and this is maybe not, but there is for 243 agencies an IELCE fall check-in. So 10 agencies were rated not adequate, and your agency received a notification letter from the CDE in August, and your program specialist will follow up soon. And this is what your agency will need to do. And I understand that this only applies to 10 agencies who were rated not adequate, but it's good for everybody to know that this is what will happen because we have instituted this fall check-in that will happen every year in the fall, okay? So if you happen to be rated not adequate, you will need to go through this process. So I won't go into it since it only deals with 10 agencies, but if you have questions about that, let me know. And your program specialist or reviewer will be contacting you soon about what you need to do. But the rest of you who might have been rated adequate or adequate with CDE review, and this year only, we hope once we get this cleared up, you'll only have to do it this year, is that what I just mentioned, that you should review your IELCE report and plan. You can find it on the CASAS website, as you did before, and you should look for these introductory courses as labeled in the slide previous, and they were slides 7 and 8. And if your agency has introductory courses, you're going to contact your reviewer or they will contact you. And this is what needs to happen. So these introductory courses will not meet the requirements for 24-25. If you were rated adequate or adequate with CDE review, they did meet last year's requirements and great, but they're not going to meet the requirements for this year. So you need to remove or change these courses from the workforce training segments of your IELCE IET program. And if you want to keep those courses, they can move over a column to the workforce preparation. And if you need help with that, you can ask your reviewer or program specialist. And as I mentioned, you should review your own so that you know when they contact you, or if they haven't contacted you yet, feel free to contact them. And then by October 20th, we need your reviewer or program specialist needs from you the name of the course, the name of the training course. guess I have too many names here, but anyways, the name of the training course that had introductory courses, and then the introductory courses that you removed or moved to workforce preparation, and then the courses you kept or added to workforce training if you decided to add some other training there. So we just want that information from you so we can pass it along to CDE so that the CDE knows that you did the action that they are asking of you, and that you're ready to report the appropriate things in 24-25. Okay, let's see if there's any questions about that. And Catherine put up the at a glance. Okay. Okay, so Anthony put up the new administrator order size, and I will post them on the CASAS website too. Thank you for giving them to me. Are both training and certificates acceptable? Maureen, is that your question? Because I'm not sure I understand that.
Yes, that was my question, because there's a lot of mention of the certificates and just, for the courses, but in addition, or alternatively, you could have the students would be in a training portion, not necessarily a course or a CTE course
Well,
for the training part.
So IELCE requires quote unquote training, and that training meet one of these certificate types.
So that was my confusion, because in this other PowerPoint, when Corey had mentioned that we could have training services 1, training services 2, and then we had the industry recognized training credentials or certificates, I guess. And it was my understanding that the students would either, have a certificate, or they could be part of a training program, like on the job training, not necessarily in a course.
Oh, on the job training. Okay.
These training services that are listed in the beginning.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Right. So, I suggest that if you have a situation like this, that you contact your CDE consultant and just run it by them and make sure they understand what you're doing and that they approve it. Because as you're pointing out, it's a little bit unclear to know exactly how this fits in. So that's what I would do if you have a question. David, go ahead, please unmute yourself and tell us what you think.
Hi, Lori. Hi, everyone. So thanks, Lori. Just for clarification, I think Lori's suggestion to get with your consultant is important, because while we are working to put out clarification around what is workforce prep and what is workforce training, it's really hard to answer everyone's questions like in a presentation like this, and without really looking at the context of your plans and reports. So while all of these questions are important questions, it's super hard to really have an answer or give you a meaningful answer without looking or getting a better understanding of your programs. All of these documents and clarifications that we're putting out are meant to try to move closer to making it clear what is prep and training. But in some cases, in many cases, we're going to need to look at people's reports and plans to get a better sense, because in some cases it might very well be prep, and in others it might meet the standard for training. So I know that's not the best answer, but I think that's why Lori keeps saying, reach out to your consultant, and just so that you all know, we are really trying to make it clear, so that going forward, everybody's on the same page. Everybody knows, has clear expectations. We're working in that direction, and hopefully these documents and the at-a-glance guide and anything additional that comes out will get us closer to that.
Thank you so much, David. I really appreciate that. And I just want everybody to understand we're all working together on this, as David said, and we're just trying to make it clear. And it's a little hard to make it clear exactly. I know, Todd, you had a question about a certain thing at the community college, and I think that's something to discuss. And, you know, because there are different situations. So go to your CD consultant and just let me just ask you for a favor, and that is if you talk to your CD consultant, I hope you'll include your program specialist and or me in your communication, but also when you write your IELCE report for 24-25, mention it in your comments, you know, or in your descriptions that you had a discussion with the CDE and you all decided that this qualified, et cetera. That would really help us so that we can keep track of this. If you've had that conversation and you've gotten quote unquote approval, then be sure to let us know that so that we can review it appropriately and talk to your CD consultant, et cetera. So we're all working together. And and Ms. or Mr. Whitlock, I don't know what your first name is. So I wanted to address you also, but go ahead and ask your question.
Sorry, Lori.
Who is it?
Arabella from
Arabella. Thank you, Arabella.
Sorry about that.
No
I did
worries.
have and it's kind of a weird question. So, we got the email yesterday that explained there was some additional understandings of that. You guys, even as a team, were like, oh, this needs to be a little clearer. Are you guys finding that with our different liaisons, or what do they call the people we talk to? Our CDE consultant, that you guys yourself right now are trying to get the same language, and because things can be sometimes, as Mr. Stang had said, not that it's subjective to the person, but it is subjective based on how the school's processing through that workforce prep. It's just, we're trying not to be confused and, the prep and training piece. But do you guys find as a team, your guys are kind of on the same page trying to get real clarity as well? Because I feel like we've talked to a couple different people. I'm not saying anybody's doing anything wrong, because I think they're just expressing and explaining the best they can too. But it leaves us kind of open-ended. And so I just would like to know if you guys are trying to get the same language going.
Well, we're certainly trying to get on the same page. And I would say, the program specialists, the CASAS program specialists are trying to get on the same page. But for the final decision, you should go to your CD consultant.
Okay.
And I just want to say for your comment here about is the IET portion of administrative assistant, would be a pathway, but we need the courses that would describe, what is the training for an administrative assistant that is not one of the introductory courses. So that would be listed in the workforce training portion. And then those things together, the ESL, the workforce prep, keyboarding, and then the other information, the training would be considered a pathway.
Thank you, Lori. Sorry, I know that a lot of people get confused, and I don't want to sound like I was anything.
And so let me just go on. Let's see. Sorry, I want to be sure we get to everybody. It's so hard. Okay, I think. Okay, so Sabina is asking, maybe David, you could answer why this change right now when we have started the school year. Maybe that's a question for you, David.
Yeah, no, thanks. And who was that?
Sabrina Irvin at 128.
Hi, thanks, Sabrina. Yeah, so in the clarification email that came out yesterday, one of the things that we mentioned was that after reviewing reports from last year, it really became clear to us that it's necessary to, as the letter says, refine the designation of certain introductory courses discovered in these reports, because so many agencies had the impression or were using workforce prep courses as training. It really became apparent to us after reviewing those reports. We believe we have always been clear, and that CASAS has always been clear in terms of the difference between prep and training. But because there are so many different scenarios and types of programs, and frankly, because the program is still relatively new, it's something that's ongoing. But based on our review of the reports and plans from last year, we believe in the interest of students, right, that ultimately that is our sort of guide. In the interest of students, we want to make sure that they are enrolled in genuine training classes, that they're getting that training and can go on to get, get a job certificate. It really became clear to us that we've got to provide this clarification. And so that's really what and someone had an earlier question about, is it sometimes, are we all working to get on the same page? Frankly, yes, we are. We're all really working very hard to get on the same page. And so, but with so many different programs, and I off the top of my head, I apologize, I don't know exactly how many 243 funded agencies we have, but with so many programs, Lori, do you know that?
We have, well, 112 submitted reports.
Okay, so about 115 agencies or so. We're really working hard to identify those that are workforce prep and workforce training, whereas in the past, we may have been a little bit more lenient or allowed for that. We are also working to get on the same page at CDE with CASAS and to provide up-to-date information that's clear too. I hope that helps.
Yeah, and David, just one more question. I'm going to answer Marin's question, but I would like if you would answer Alex Jimenez's question at Visalia Adult School. Was there any discussion about the concept of the community colleges doing more advanced courses and the adult schools cover the basic introductory classes? This is taking that away from us.
That was Anthony?
Alex Jimenez at 1:30.
Okay, Alex, thank you. There was some discussion. There is ongoing discussion, Alex, and we are working to identify those programs and to better understand, even in those situations, if what we're talking about really is prep that's being provided, or if it is in fact training. So it's very hard to say. To answer your question, yes, there is conversation about how programs that work with or coordinate with the community college, how that impacts this clarification going forward. We are having those conversations, absolutely. But without, one of my own agencies has the same question as you, that emailed me earlier, but without looking at the individual plans and reports, it's hard to give an exact answer. Can
I add to that? I hope I'm not going to muddle this, so please forgive me if I do. But so I don't think it's taking away, Alex, because the adult school gets paid for the IELCE, the preparation part of it. That's where your co-op is. So if you say that the community college is doing the training and you have an agreement with them to do the training portion, you can list them as the training partner, and you are doing the workforce preparation in the center column, and you're getting paid for the co-op that you're taught to support the training. So I don't, at least in my opinion, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's taking anything away from you. Okay, but let's move on. And I want to answer Marin's question. So the report is due in March 30th. The report talks about everything you have done or are going to do in the 24-25 year. So we're not actually asking for data. We're asking for, what you've done until then, certainly any attendance. And if it's proposed attendance, in other words, if you're going to have a course late after March, then you can say, you can say in the comments, we expect 25 students to participate in this class. It's a description of what you have done until you write the report and what you plan to do. So don't worry about the fact that it's not all done by then. That's not what we're requiring from you. Just a description of what you are doing, and you can tell us, as long as you let us know this is expected attendance, for example. I hope that answers. And let me just go on here because we do have other things, and we've got 2 great presentations, and we want people to get a chance to think about this, okay? And then get back to us with questions. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to go on to okay, Maria, can we talk about your question about the payment points? Can you stay on at the end and I'll talk to you about that?
Okay.
When you, so my Lee, that agencies are providing workforce prep instead of workforce training. Do you really mean to say that agencies are not providing training and only prep? Yes. Well, let me just say that this came up, especially when we found that, for example, 1,000 students at an agency were taking an introductory course that they were considering training. So in some cases, not in all, but in some, people were using an introductory course. This is good computer training for all ESL students. We're going to offer it to all of them, but we're going to call it training. We're going to put it in that 3rd column. That's one of the issues that came up. Okay. If an agency was not rated adequate for last year, are we able to have this reviewed with the new guidelines and the possibility of a new outcome? There can be no new outcome because last year was not adequate. So now look towards this year, and that's why we're doing this fall check-in to plan the program for this year. Have you promised that you're going to implement it in the way you work with your reviewer or program specialist? And then you're going to tell us about it in March of this year. There's no going back and changing what you did last year. That's what you did. And unfortunately, that was rated not adequate according to the rules. But no worries, you're still in the program, and now you have a chance to make it adequate this year. Okay. You can't have 0 students enrolled because, yeah, that's right. You can't have 0 students enrolled because you didn't offer the training if you have 0 students enrolled. So you need to make sure that there's a need for offering this training program and that you have students who want to participate in it. So I'm going to move on. Leanne, you're asking for specific examples. Again, those of you who need more help, we'll do it at the end. I'll stay on as long as you want at the end, and you can ask your questions, okay? And Kay is offering some assistance to you. Thanks, Kay. Appreciate it. Okay. Thank you so much for this discussion. I know it's difficult when changes happen, especially at this time of the year, et cetera, but we're trying to get ahead of this and make sure that you have all the information you need. And I'm sure that those of you who have these kinds of introductory courses have been talking about it all along in some way. So let's move on. Let's see, where am I? There we go. Okay, so now to happier things. COAP correlation to digital skills framework. The COAPs have been correlated to the digital skills framework, which comes out from World Education, and I put a link for you here. We haven't given you the correlation yet, but we're in the process of doing it. We just wanted to sort of let you know that we're working on that. We're working on adding items from the digital skills framework, again, to up our game in digital skills. It's not going to make you change anything right now, but it's going to give you the opportunity to see, oh, maybe we want to add this thing, or maybe we want to add that thing that would help our students have more digital skills, okay? And we're going to review all the COAPs, but we have already looked at COAPs 47 and 48, and we've made some changes, and we wanted to tell you what we did. And this is going to come out in a revisions to COAPs document. And again, this is nothing you have to do now. It's just an addition that you could look at. For 47.1, 2, and 3, we added the word and safely and securely, because we realized that security is an issue that we really, that we really didn't deal with, 15 years ago when we started 47, but now security is a big issue, privacy is a big issue. So we added that to the description. And we also added a new language and literacy objective that talks about the use of self-assessment tools to identify gaps in tech info, knowledge, and competence. This is one of the main things in the digital skills framework, that students should self-assess and then work on things they don't know yet. So we understand that you might have a wide range of knowledge and skills gap, but we might want to try to, as much as possible, move ahead with what students already know, since so many of our students have tech knowledge now than they did in, whatever, 15 years ago when we added these digital literacy co-ops. And then we did the same for 48, 1 through 4. We added, it's the same information, but it happens to be LLL 19 in those about self-assessment tools. So we want you to start thinking about using some kind of self-assessment tool with your student, with yourself, and with your students to see if we can sort of up our game in what we're teaching in terms of digital literacy and digital safety, et cetera. Okay, so Sarah asked, is each co-op going to be aligned to the digital skills framework? We're going to see how we can add things and improve our tasks to align with the digital skills framework. Yes. It may or may not cause you to make a change, but offer you to make a change. So we may not say, we're changing a task, but we may say, along with the, after the such as, that we include some extra information there, and we'll let you know as we go along. And if we do change something, we'll give you the opportunity to input if you're using that co-op, and then we'll give you a time frame to make that change. So for example, in financial literacy, I think we've been talking about making some changes, and we are going to write some new financial literacy co-ops. We're going to leave the sort of older ones in place and give you a year to realize that you should move to the newer ones. Okay, so we'll let you know about that as we do it. Okay. I also want to let you know that Stephanie and I last week gave a EL Civics Basics webinar, and we have slides for that. If you are new to EL Civics or you needed a refresher and you didn't get a chance to go to the webinar, the slides and the webinar, the recording, are posted on the CASAS website, and I've also given you links here, so when you get these slides, you can just go to those links. Okay, and Anthony is offering digital skills training at OTAN. Thank you. So just want to remind you that that you need to select your co-ops if you're an EL Civics agency, which is why you're here. Okay, we ask that you not wait, that you go ahead and select your co-ops, or at least one, because that is the October 31st deadline, which is now fast approaching. So please, whether or not you decide to keep the one you choose, this deadline is to just know that you can access the system and that you have a designated person that can do that. And I think this is the link to the selection process. And when you go in, you'll probably select pre-approved co-ops in general. So just go there, do that. When you go there for the first time, you'll see this slide that says to view the new version of what you selected previously, and then you just can either continue to select it, or you can remove what you don't want. Be sure not to remove anything that's just been made for your agency that's not a pre-approved one. And then just hit go to checkout. So all you have to do, and after you do that, you can go back in and change anything you want. This deadline is just to know that you can access, or that the designated person at your agency can access the system for this year. Okay, we just want to say again, our EL Civics Exchange is growing. We have 19 sets of materials. We have all our numbers here, no zeros left. We're so excited. And this is the list of materials we have. The latest ones are in entrepreneurship. Thank you, Maren, for that. And in soft skills, thank you, Evelyn Jackson and the Huntington Beach folks for that one. These are all our wonderful agencies who've offered us materials, and we'd love all of you to offer us materials. And so as you're writing new materials this year for financial literacy or whatever you're writing, please work with us to submit them to the EL Civics Exchange, and Anthony Burek will offer you training in accessibility or help you make your materials 508 compliant. So please offer us your materials. We want to build this repository as much as possible. Okay. And how do we get access? I'm sorry, I must have lost the thread here. Oh, how do we get access to, are you talking about what Anthony offered you? We do not have access to view these. Are you talking, I'm sorry, are you talking about the, Civics Exchange? Anybody can access the materials, anybody. You can only submit if you are a WIA to agency, but anybody can access. If that doesn't answer your question, please, to the COAPS page. Okay, so the COAPS page, everybody has access to that too. Not everybody has access to select. You have to be a designated person to select. If you want to be the designated person, or if your agency wants you to be the designated person, just write to your CASAS program specialist and we'll get you to be designated. But everybody can see and if you have problems with that, Michelle, stay on the line afterwards and I'll help you with that, okay? Okay, I hope I've answered all the questions. Let us move in. Okay, great. Thank you, Paul, for giving David access to the chat information. Okay, I'm going the wrong way. Sorry. Okay, sit prep. I put these slides in here. They are up to date, but I'm gonna let you read them. And if you have questions, contact me, and Portia will be back next week. And she could also answer your questions at that time, or we'll talk about them at the next meeting also. But I put them here just for your information. We've gone over this lots of times. I just want to get to our other information just to say that our next meeting will be on November 6th and the one after that, December 4th. Hope you'll register for those meetings. And if you have not registered for this meeting, please do so at caadultedtraining.org. You can do that now. And please type your name and agency into the chat box so that we have record of your attendance. So now I'm going to move to Paul. Oh, I think we've asked all the questions. I'm going to skip that and I'm going to move to our presentations. Okay, and Paul?
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Lori. Most of you have heard about eWORKs. So I'm going to give you a quick demo of eWORKs so you can see what it looks like. Before I do that, Lori, Sarah asked a question about whether eWORKs can be considered workforce preparation, whether somebody creates a separate eWORKs class or incorporates it into an existing class. Can eWORKs activities be considered workforce prep?
Tell me what co-op it is, Paul. Remind me which co-op.
We're doing co-op 52. We use eWORKs in co-op 52.
Yeah, 52 is so it counts for a 243 co-op. Yes.
Okay, good, great to know. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. I'm going to have to stop your screen sharing, Lori.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Or did I have to do it? Okay, sorry.
No, I did it.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to open up. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick eWORKs demo here. If you're using the teacher portal, this screen looks familiar to you because you need teacher portal to use eWORKs. So this is the opening screen of the teacher portal or the student portal, and I'm going to show you both and how eWORKs dovetails into them. This is the opening screen of the teacher portal. I'm going to sign in as a fictional teacher here. So you can see our teacher's name is John. His name is up in the upper right-hand corner. These are the classes that John teaches. I'm going to open the class in which he has incorporated eWORKs activities. If we open his student lister, we can see his students' names and so on. If you're using Teacher Portal, this looks very familiar. But the thing that John has that you won't have are these graduation cap icons next to each student's name. If John were to click on a graduation cap icon, we can see all of the eWORKs functions that he can do here. He can now eWORKs is a result of a partnership between CASAS and AlignMark. So in order for students to use the AlignMark features, the AlignMark soft skills features, John needs to enroll them with AlignMark. So he does that here. And we can see that this student has their AlignMark credentials, so they're good to go. The other thing John can do is see an eWORKs profile. So when a student has taken reading assessment, math assessments, critical thinking, problem solving, and various soft skills assessments, they get a score and they get descriptors related to those scores so they can see where they need work and what they need to work on. The other thing John can do, if there's a little C next to that graduation cap, that means that student qualifies for a certificate. So here's one of the certificates this student qualifies for. It shows their reading, math, customer care, and personal qualities level. And on the back side of the certificate is that same profile that I showed you earlier. Sometimes students will take this to job interviews, or if they're not doing that, they still become familiar with this language. This is business language, and the result of a lot of conversations with businesses. And we find that students, when they see this profile or when they see this certificate, they're more prepared for job interviews, and they have an idea what to say and what to put on their resumes. So these are some of the things these aren't all the things that John does in the teacher portal for eWORKs, but most of them he does with the graduation cap icon. I'm going to go ahead and go to John's portal here. We're going to log into the student portal. So it's the same home screen, but now we're going to log in as a student to see what the student portal looks like. So the student goes into the student portal, and there's a number of things they can do here. But for right now, we're just thinking about eWORKs. So the student's going to click on eWORKs, and they can see their scores, their levels for the various modalities. The first time the student comes here, of course, they won't have customer care and personal quality because they wouldn't have taken those assessments yet. But this student has. She's been in and out of here a few times, and she can see the same profile here that John can see. So she can see where her levels are and where she needs work. So if she wants to take a soft skills test, she can click on this blue button here, and that takes her straight to the AlignMark website. She doesn't need to log in again as long as her teacher has gotten her the AlignMark credentials. So here she can take some courses, she can take a soft skills assessment, and she can see after she's taken an assessment, she can see a development plan. We're going to go ahead and look at the assessment here. There's a customer care assessment and a personal qualities assessment. Each one is about 30 minutes long, and each one consists of a series of short videos. The student watches videos of workplace situations, and they need to make a choice what to do in the situation. So I'm going to show you a brief video. There we go. This is the end of the previous question. They get 30 seconds to choose the best and the worst option out of 4 options. So when the timer runs out, then another situation will start, and you'll be able to see what it looks like. It's a short video. The student is given 4 options, and they get to choose the best and the worst of their 4 options. Hopefully you'll be able to hear the sound. If not, then I'll talk you through it while it's playing. Can you guys hear the sound? Can somebody give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
Yes,
Tom
we
and
do.
Mary are customer service representatives in a busy
Sorry about that. Did you say you could hear the sound, Lori?
Yes.
Great. Okay, here we go.
call center. Tom is on the phone with a customer that will take 5 more minutes to finish. Mary is dealing with a very difficult customer.
Sir, if you'll just... Sir, excuse me, but Sir, I'm sorry, but... Sir, please hold. Tom, I just can't deal with this guy anymore. He's not listening. He won't let me say a word. I'm just not going to listen to him anymore.
Which one of the following actions do you think is best, and which one is worst? A. Place your customer on hold and offer to help Mary's.
Ma'am, do you mind if I put you on hold for just a moment? Thank you. Mary, just a second. Let me see if there's anything I could do to help you out. Sir, is there anything I can do to help you?
B. Place your customer on hold and tell Mary to get her supervisor to take the call.
Ma'am, do you mind if I just put you on hold for just a moment? Thank you. Mary, just get your supervisor to finish up your call.
C. Continue your call, then pick up Mary's.
Mary, I'll take your call in just a couple of minutes, okay? Ma'am, I just need a few more pieces of information from you.
D. Tell your customer that an emergency has come up. Promise to call her right back, then take Mary's call.
Ma'am, an emergency has come up that I must deal with. Can you give me your phone number and I'll be sure to give you a call right back? Absolutely. Thank you, ma'am. Hello, sir. How can I help you?
Which one of the following actions do you think is best and which one is worst?
So this is what the students do. They watch the video, they make their choices. Each of the assessments is about 30 minutes long and consists of 14 short videos like that. And that's how we assess their soft skills. Once they take their soft skills assessments, they can look at that profile and see where they need work, and they can choose a course under My Courses based on where they need more work. For instance, if this student didn't do so well in the first area, they could click Take a Course, and they'll see more scenarios, and they make a choice what to do in this situation. And then the system gives them feedback to let them know if that was a good choice or not a good choice. They also have access to a development plan, which sort of breaks down the skills that they need to work on, gives them some activities to help them develop those skills, and even options for them to develop a time frame for completing those skills. So these are some of the things that teachers and students have access to in eWORKs. There's also a number of resources available on the CASAS website, materials for teachers to use in a classroom. If you want to, in addition to these online soft skills courses, we find many teachers want to have in-person instruction and make the class sort of a hybrid where the student has online instruction and in-person instruction. There's also a soft skill, an employer survey on the CASAS website. Some schools start with the survey to find out what employers are looking for in terms of soft skills. And then they assess their students or provide instruction to their students based on what they find from employers. So this is basically what eWORKs looks like in terms of how it dovetails with the teacher portal, the student portal, and so on. I think I'm about done here unless somebody has a quick question. And you can always reach out to me. My email address is eWORKs@casas.org. And I'll go ahead and stop sharing here.
So one of the questions, Paul, was just they wanted to know if they could go in as Rolling Hill so they could look around.
We don't have that yet, but we're working on it.
Okay.
But I'm happy to give you a longer demo for you or anybody at your school anytime.
Paul, why don't you put your
yes,
email in the chat? And then also a question, do you have an example of an employer survey?
Yeah, well, eWORKs@casas.org. I put that in the chat box. Yeah, let me go ahead and share again. Shall I share again?
Oh, sure. Sorry, what are you? Oh,
yeah. So let me go back to the CASAS. Let me go to the CASAS website for you and show that to you. So on the CASAS website, CASAS.org, you can click on eWORKs, and you can click on eWORKs resources. And under the resources, there's the eWORKs, the employer survey. So the survey is here. It's 4 pages long. There's a page for the customer care skills. These are the same descriptors that are on the profile or on the certificate. So the employer is asked to pick the ones that are most important. So there's one for the personal qualities skills, the one for the customer care skills, as well as a page for reading levels and math levels. So we ask the employer to choose the important skills that they're looking for, the reading level that's necessary for that job, and the math level required for that job. And we can use that information to develop our instruction based on what the employer is looking for. So this survey is on the CASAS website, on the CASAS resources page. I'll go ahead and put that in the chat too. CASAS website. Let me grab this link, and then I'll put that in the chat box.
Thank you, Paul. We appreciate it. And thank you for your great presentation. We appreciate that. So we're going to go back now to have our other presentation. We have Grossmont Adult School here talking about their IELCE IET program. We have Heather Peterson, who's the director, Amber Kiefer, the IET instructor, and Nikki Ross, the program specialist. So ladies, please, I'm going to stop sharing. And if you would share so that people can see your slides. And we're so excited that you're here with us today. Thank you.
Sure. And I'll just start by let's see. I'll start by Heather wasn't able to stay on.
Oh, I'm sorry. We went long.
So yeah, so we'll go ahead and just kind of take over with her slides. If and that should work out just fine. So we want to introduce ourselves to you. I'm Nikki Ross. I'm our program specialist.
And I'm Amber Kiefer. I'm the IET teacher here at Health Occupation Center.
Yeah, and we'll talk about our program today and just the way that we're using IET across multiple programs at our schools, but particularly our health occupations. Just a little bit about today's session. We'll give you an overview, some data about our programs, the outcomes we have had so far, a little bit about the steps in setting up our program, what it looks like now, and then, successes, challenges, what we're hoping for as we move ahead. As far as the Health Occupation Center goes, if you, I don't know if you know much about us, but we're in East County, San Diego, and we have a pretty large program. We partner with 12 major healthcare training, or we partner with local hospitals, small clinics for our healthcare training and licensure programs. And then we also offer 14 continuing education courses, 14 program-specific accreditations. Some of those that you might be familiar with in your programs. We have dental assistant, we have pharmacy technician, phlebotomy, medical assistant, medical office professional, veterinary assistant, CNA, LVN. So we have quite a few programs. We do have an average enrollment about 1,400 and 2,500 in continuing education. So that's a pretty large part of what we offer to our community. We have a solid completion rate, 80 to 85%. And then you can see quite a few partnerships for our clinicals, for our internships and externships countywide. And almost every single one of our programs includes an internship, which is really an exciting part of what we can offer. We do have a link in our presentation to an overview of our Health Occupation Center, and we can make our presentation available to everyone. So just an overview of HOC over the past few years. It's pretty interesting. So, we offered a vocational ESL class for medical careers starting in 2015. And then, we saw interest kind of go back and forth for that class. It was really a smaller cohort, 10 to 15 students that intended on joining the Health Occupation Center programs. But we decided in 18 and 19, because of some of the results from that vessel, to eliminate our entrance exam. So we had an internal exam for math and English assessment, and spots were given to the highest scores. The difficulty there was that we, were largely kind of weeding out our language learners, our older students with that test. And it was something that we really wanted to move away from and have our entrance more equitable. So we started doing the CASAS reading test, and students had to achieve a score of 228 to participate in the healthcare programs here. We did offer, a CNA and IET and patient care aid classes in 19 and 20. And then through all of that, we decided to do open enrollment starting in 2021 with no CASAS test score required to enter our programs. So students could basically register and join the program. Now, we do have transition services here on campus, so we're able to talk with students about the requirements and help them know what's possible, what's required, so that they're making a solid decision. In 21-22, we had our first ESL support teacher, and we started focusing our professional development on teachers working with our IET teacher, and then launched in-class support 22-23. And then currently we have what we'll talk about today, our comprehensive ESL support in and out of class. We wanted to share just a little bit of our demographics with you, so you could check these out, and you'll see that we've had kind of interesting numbers as far as demographic goes in our programs. We did want you to know that at our schools, we have quite a large population of students from the Middle East and Afghanistan. So our what is under the column for white does include our Middle Eastern students. So, we're hoping as we collect demographics going forward, that we'll be able to let people know more about the students that we serve that are language learners from all over the world. But you can kind of see how those numbers have changed and moved around. And then finally, you can see regarding our language learner outcomes, back in 2017 and 18, before we eliminated our entrance exam, we had 3 enrolled with a 3rd completing. And then all the way up into the last couple years, where we're looking at 80+% of our language learners completing our programs, and quite a exponential growth in the number of students that have enrolled and we're really pleased to say completed. Amber, did you want to add anything? I know that was a lot of data. That was all Heather's stuff.
Yeah, you're doing great.
Okay, cool. And so just thought we'd start out with just defining IET, IELCE. I know a lot of people on this call know all about it, but I think there's still a lot of confusion as to what those 3 elements are. We just talked about some changes, and we're really looking at language and literacy concurrently offered, contextualized in a package with our workforce training and workforce preparation piece. And the IELCE as a program provides these services to language learners and prepares them for employment in in-demand industries at or leading to a living wage.
So what we support our English language learners with in our IET program is the workforce preparation, soft skills, resumes. We do a co-op. We do, oops,
sorry,
my screen
go
changed. We do have Canvas. All of the HOC, Health Occupation Center programs do use Canvas. So we have reading, writing, listening, and speaking activities within Canvas that are contextualized for the individual programs. We have in-class language and literacy during the labs and lectures. We have an open study lab, which does language and literacy instruction and support homework assignments. And that is kind of in the middle of the day. So it gets the morning classes at the end of their class and the evening classes before their class. We do pre and post assessments with CASAS that kind of shows us, identifies, what we need and who we need to work with. And then we have scenario-based simulations that we work on for communication skills and meeting the internship requirements and competencies.
So we wanted to, just talk a little bit about the programs that we serve. Now, this is overall. So current would have been the last school year. We had 127 IET students, and we wanted to talk to you a little bit about that because in our program, we don't designate every student in the class as IET. We don't say that anyone who spoke another language besides English first is IET. We take a look at the demographics pretty closely before we decide if they're taking a goals or a steps test. Certainly a student who might have spoken a different language first, but has, grown up here, gone to school here, graduated high school, or maybe even came here at a young age and has gone to some college, they might not be a student that takes the ESL test. If they're a student that's participated in our academic programs previously and has a goals test, we'll usually stick with that. And we'll talk a little bit more and hopefully in Q&A what we've learned about that and how we're trying to figure out how we can really show off how many language learners we're serving, but also continue to make the best decisions as far as which tests students take when they CASAS test, when they first join our programs. And again, we said they don't have to get a score to get in, but we do CASAS test them, as Amber mentioned, to find out, where their needs are and who needs the most support. So as far as medical CTE, we named our programs for you, and there's a list there. And then for non-medical CTE, we do offer accounting, office professional, which was, something that we'll probably be taking a second look at, given the guidance that just came out. We have a paraprofessional class, and we also have construction and welding. So some trades classes that we're working towards offering IET for those classes. Just a little bit about the demographics. And again, in this presentation, we have a link to some special populations data, an expansion of what you saw in the previous slides. But we do have 37 different languages, students representing 80 different countries at our schools, and about 8,300 students across the programs that we list down there. So we have a good sized program and quite a diverse student base that we serve.
So one of the programs we wanted to highlight was our phlebotomy medical lab assistant program. It is one of our most popular ones. It's usually full. It usually has many English language learner students in there. And so what the students do in the class is they do the lecture and the lab. And in class, they act as both phlebotomists and patients. So they get both, the experience of being a phlebotomist and the experience from being a patient. So the combination of the phlebotomy and lab assistant training makes them more employable. They do earn the CPT, the phlebotomy 1 license. They get the medical lab assistant certification, and they are ready for exam through the NHA, the National Health Association. Recruitment for our phlebotomy course is usually online through social media or through our college and business associates partnerships. And then we have 2 sections. So we have a daytime section that is 18 weeks long, and it is longer, it's 8 hours a day. So we have 2 of those per year. And then we have 1 year-long evening session that is 36 weeks, that's 4 hours. And both of those classes go 2 times a week.
Yeah, and we previously have partnered with our Career Center for a cohort or boot camp type of class, and Amber's been the teacher for that class as well. So we wanted to share a little bit with you about our SSLOs for this is, a snapshot of what we worked on for phlebotomy. I know this is something that we all will submit along with our IELCE report. But, this was really a great chance for us to review course outlines, to work directly with the CTE teacher to find out where are the language and literacy objectives within the technical objectives that they're teaching. So as you can see, we use the key language. And of course, when we submit this, sometimes we have to go back and work with our program specialist on making sure that these are worded just right. That certainly isn't perfect for us every time, but things like identify and describe the duties and responsibilities of a phlebotomist, as well as their scope of practice. So this is something that language learners and non-language learners have to know in this class to be ready for their job, to be ready to pass the COAP. And there's all kinds of reasons why they need to understand this. Examine, interpret, and use a protocol for communicating blood draw instructions. And we'll talk in a little bit about these simulations that we're using with students, but being able to talk with a patient, let them know what to expect, let them know what you're doing, and then within that, understand the steps and the vocabulary. So these were really kind of fun, if that's your thing, to work on, but also to learn more about, okay, what are the technical requirements of this class and how can we help our language learners understand those technical requirements as they're learning them or accomplishing them, because a lot of students come to us with heavy backgrounds in this same field. So they know what to do, but they don't know how to accurately communicate it or even follow the instructions from their instructor related to safety and things that may be different than what they're used to. And then we give you a second snapshot of the second set of, or the next 4 SSLOs that we use for phlebotomy.
And Nikki, the question came up, have you created a COAP for phlebotomy? And if not, which COAP are you using?
Yeah, so we'll talk about it in a little bit, but
Okay,
we do 33.8 with all of our medical classes because of a number of reasons, but specifically so that students are job ready. And what's really exciting is then all of what they've learned in class about job requirements come into play on their application, come into play in the answers that they give during their mock interview. And so it's really a nice coming together of what they've learned and them being able to put words to that and at the same time be job ready.
All right, so when we started this, we have to do a lot of teacher collaboration with the teachers on each program. And I think if we go back to what Nikki was talking about originally with the data, we had an entrance exam that was in English language and math. And so most of our teachers are still from that time period when we had an entrance exam, and now we don't. So it took a little while to get the teacher buy-in because they had not had to deal too much with language learners in their classes because of the entrance exam. So we work very closely with our teacher, collaborating on what we're going through. So the teacher provides the course terminology, the phrases and acronyms that go with the course, with any weekly projects, reports, anything that the students are required to do, with communication that the students are is necessary for their class, and the digital literacy required for the class, because like I said before, all of our teachers do use Canvas. So that is a big part of the quizzes are in Canvas, the homework is in Canvas. And then on the next page, what the IET teacher then co-designs with the CTE teacher is the reading, writing, listening, and speaking skills that I had mentioned before. So the reading comprehensive activities, weekly writing activities, the industry-based dialogue for communication, and then the simulations that Nikki had talked about a little bit about, where we give evidence for them to be ready for the workforce prep for their internships. I think that's all. I don't know where I'm going now. I think I'm done with that one.
So just kind of following with more of the planning and organization, quite a bit of preparation through the first day of class. So if we're thinking about fall classes, this would be during the summer, and then during October and November for the spring. We hopefully can do planning meetings one-on-one with teachers. That hasn't always been very easy. So what we found at the Health Occupation Center is joining in the PLC has been a huge benefit to getting a spot to present in front of teachers, to work with them directly, to talk really candidly about student needs in the class, and to plan some curriculum for IET and the way that IET would be delivered in their classes. So we join these meetings, and really the PLC is year round, but then we really kind of get a little more in depth as we're leading right up until the class starting. All of our classes have an orientation. The way our health center does it is it's a large orientation where people register for that online. They have to participate in a CTE orientation to be able to register. So once they've participated in orientation, then there's a registration day. And it's kind of like have your hand on the button. I mean, our classes fill up very fast. And then we usually do 1 to 2 times the roster size of a wait list. So if a student gets onto the roster or the wait list, which this past registration, we didn't close those. So we had some long wait lists for some class. Then they would be invited to the welcome day, which is essentially the first day of class. We have support staff like ourselves, like transition specialists, that can join those welcome days to make sure students know what support is available if they do get into the class. And then if students attend the welcome day and then pay for the class, then they are in the class. Before the first day of school, as a team, we take a look at rosters and identify students that have either declared that they're a language learner or would meet criteria for being a language learner. So that, it would be that they have noted, we can see it in ASAP, that they're a language learner, or they were maybe born outside of the US, don't speak English at home, and have not completed any education here. So those are things that we look at so that we're familiar with rosters and prepared for CASAS testing. And then Amber imports an IET module into their Canvas. So she's a co-teacher with almost every class on campus. And then we start scheduling, making sure that we are scheduling pre and post testing and possible dates to do co-op assessments over the semester. And then the first week of school, we do our CASAS pre-test with students, and we introduce IET, talk about attending our open labs, and then what are the Canvas modules and how students will complete those as part of their curriculum, not something extra, not something different, but part of their curriculum.
And I did see that there's a question about how many students are enrolled in each class, and it really depends on the program. The phlebotomy, I think, is capped at 32, and I believe that's mostly because of seats. That's how many. They have a very nice, recently renovated lab, so they actually have that many seats. Some of the other courses have smaller. I think our CNA is maybe 15. So each course has its own max depending on different requirements based on each program.
Amber, would you say that, I think in general, like phlebotomy is bigger, medical assistant is bigger, hitting right around 30, but I would say most of our classes are in the neighborhood of 20-ish, 20 to 25.
Yeah, definitely 20 to 25. Yeah, MA and the phlebotomy tend to go more towards 27, 28 and up to 30. And there's, some that will drop out, but it's right around 20 to 25. And then a couple that are just a little bit lower than that, but yeah. So as you can see from this slide, this is kind of our planning and organization, and there's a lot that goes into this. I know Nikki and I have an online worksheet that we share, that we have all our dates and everything so that we can keep everything straight. But in the first few weeks of once the classes are open and going, we have, I usually go into the classes, introduce everything. I am in each program's Canvas course, like Nikki said, so that I insert these IET module that we have that are very basic for all programs, and then a few that are customized, personalized to each program. So I do go in, I help get into Canvas and navigate through, so that digital literacy. I talk to some students sometimes that might be dropping. We refer them to our foundations class or the patient care aid class that we have that going on. I still continue to go to the PLCs and work with teachers so that we can, work on students that they might identify that maybe we hadn't caught yet. So it's all that first few weeks. In the middle weeks, we had week 8 to 14 is when we're really doing the assessments. I do have several classes, and I think it's more than half now, that I pull out students to go to a computer lab for 1 hour a week. So I am within that computer lab working on the assignments through the IET. So they all have this one module in their programs that have IET assignments. Those assignments are based on things given to us from PLCs, what teachers need students to have that they have identified where the majority of students need work on, and things that our business partners have noted that really needs to have our students work on. So we work on those IET assignments. We work on working towards the COAP assessments. We do the simulation practices, which are dialogues for each program, for MA, for phlebotomy. We work on those. And then, I forget what the other one was. Oh, and then, so then towards the end of the time period is when we're kind of wrapping it up and doing mock interviews, doing the post-CASAS test. Still, I'm always in the Canvas courses, monitoring the assessments, identifying students that might be having some troubles, still collaborating with those teachers, and then doing the simulations, also identify and give evidence for competencies to go out on their internships. So the little circles here are our 2020-20. This is a plan that we came up with fairly recently, that we're working on it this year as of this semester. So we do, when I pull the students that I do pull out, the classes, we work 20 minutes on IET module work. So as Nikki pointed out, this is not extra work. It is during their class time. It's not stuff that we're trying to pile on and overwhelm the students. So I work with them on their IET module work. 20 minutes we work in paired practice, either with simulation paired practice, with something that the teachers might tell me. Sometimes they say, hey, they have a test later this afternoon. Can you practice these few ideas? So I'll pair them off and we'll work on that, or we do the co-op practice. And then the last 20 minutes, we're usually presenting either a simulation, because it's very big on that communication in the class. We're trying to really get students to, we find that many of them are lacking in that communication, and most of the healthcare field do have to identify patients. They do have to walk up to patients and say, hello, my name is whatever, and I'm going to be your phlebotomist today. So we work a lot on that communication presentation, the last 20 minutes of that computer lab. There are a few programs that I don't take out for computer lab. So I do roving teacher model into their classes, and I'll be present during either lecture or lab to help with the language and literacy. And then we have the synchronous instruction, and then we do have asynchronous instruction that are those activities that are in Canvas. We have reading, writing, listening, and speaking activities that are all within Canvas. I monitor all of them and give comments and work on anything that we need to do back in that computer lab or when I'm in their classroom. We do all.
Sorry, Amber, I was going to jump in. I know we're cutting right into the end of the meeting.
You know what,
Lori,
guys, feel free, you know, I appreciate that, but I'd like you to finish. So if you
okay,
could another 5 minutes, that would be so great.
awesome. Thank you.
I was just going to say real quick, we do utilize Burlington English and Reading Plus and North Star as extra help if we really need that too. I think about the open lab. Do you want to talk about the open lab?
Yeah. So just, this is an open lab. It seems that I've got a little bit of background music, so let me know if that's getting too loud in the background. We have a open lab, which that's actually the classroom I'm in right now. But what we had kind of just to come in, send your groups of students type of thing, and our teacher would work with students on different projects from the teacher. And what we decided this year, just because we had students that we felt needed a more targeted English lesson when they visited the open lab, is we decided to do a Monday, Tuesday mirrored lesson. So students could come on either Monday or Tuesday for either small group or one-on-one instruction, and then a 2-hour contextualized language and literacy lesson focused on the medical field. And the teacher can also do simulation and co-op practice with them. And then on Wednesday and Thursday, it would be similar, only the contextualized lesson would focus on soft skills for the medical field. That was something that kept coming up with our advisory members and just teachers in general. And we felt that that was a great way for us to kind of have a more structured lab for students, and probably a bigger draw and buy-in for the teachers as well, based on PLC feedback. And then on Fridays, we offer a 3-hour conversation role play and simulation practice class. Currently, it's just in terms 1 and 3, and we offer it off-site because we're in a kind of a sitting next to where most of our language learners live. So we decided to offer that on Friday when many of them don't have classes and could attend closer to home.
Nikki, there's a question too that I don't really know the answer to. How did we fund the open lab design? What's our funding source?
So these are IET teachers. And so they are part of our IET program. We interviewed, and these teachers interviewed for positions and were hired as IET teachers. And we wanted to offer it as a support for students either after or before class and for multiple classes. So these are, it's part of their teaching assignment.
Okay.
And I just wanted to say, if you were able to offer some more co-ops, then their funds could be gathered from that as well. And one of our agencies has looking into writing a phlebotomy co-op. So if they do that, you might be able to use that.
So what part of our plan of changing the open lab is that we will work actually towards a soft skills co-op on the Wednesday and Thursday. So the students attending that would be able to kind of pilot with us what that soft skills would look like. And then for us, especially in the medical programs, buy-in is really key because didactic requirements for the technical teacher are just very, very heavy. So we need to be able to justify, hey, what amount of time can we incorporate this instruction and make it relevant for them? So soft skills is kind of the next co-op we're targeting. Patient care makes a lot of sense. We offer it in our patient care class, and it makes a lot of sense for CNA. But currently we've really only been able to pull the trigger on one co-op for each class. But yes, that's our next move.
Yeah, so we have a lot of, medical teachers with the medical field, and they have very big time constraints of how many hours that they all have to go through. So, it's been trying to get a lot of the buy-in and taking too much time. So right now the one co-op is working really well. A lot of teachers have really bought in, especially this last year and this last semester. So I think that I'm hoping that we will be able to get a couple more, at least maybe one more co-op going. But it's been a short, we have to do baby steps to get everything and all the organization. And I love someone asked, how many IE teachers do we have on site? So that's me. So we do have the open lab instructor. That is not me. So she is an ESL instructor. She does the open lab for us. And then I utilize the program specialist, Nikki, and our transition specialist. They help a lot with the job applications and mock interviews because that's, a lot of that is one-on-one. So there is only me right now doing the different programs. So on the screen right now, the Canvas module layout. So like I said, I put an IET Canvas module in everyone's Canvas course. I name it IET so everybody knows that it's, different than what their medical assignments are, but they're all assignments. And so the layout that we have has been what we've found out has worked really well. This is the same for all of the programs, just contextualized different for depending on which healthcare field. So we have 6 ethics and soft skill modules that is an activity that they do, and they turn something in, 6 writing assignments, 8 workforce prep, and that has all to do with the co-op, so the mock interview and the job application, and then 1 reflection at the end that kind of helps us and them to reflect on how the program went. So that's our layout. So then the co-op, the 33.8, I think we've talked a lot about this by now, but the application and interview, like Nikki said, it's relevant for all of our programs. Our business partners, advisors have said that this is what they need from our students in the past. This is maybe one thing that's lacking, that need to improve the interview skills, the employability skills, the communication skills. And then what we find out in CASAS, we find that they need a lot of help with charts and forms. So I tell them all the time, this job application you're filling out, if you've filled out in the past, it's still proof that you know how to fill out a chart and form, because that's what you're going to do a lot of in the medical field.
Yeah, and I think we've found too that so many students, even the ones that seem like star students in the class, might have no idea what they needed to be prepared with for an application. They might not understand that they could have filled on an online application and then go in and need to fill that application out in person before the interview. So all of these things, and then also just the very simple interactions, respect, eye contact, engagement. Tell me about yourself. What are my weaknesses? All of those things, from vocabulary to just manner, are things that every student in the class we're finding out can really benefit from.
And
then Yes.
Paul said something in the chat, and I love that eWORKs thing. I would love to, I think it would do really well with what we do. I'd love to be able to use that.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, so as far as the last piece, and this is kind of the newest, something that Amber and I worked on last semester, were simulations. So we kind of launched the spring with a recommendation for students with a certain CASAS score to come to English class. We really wanted them to come to the lab time and go through additional English instruction. Again, it's not required, but it's something that is good for their success. And so we developed these simulations that incorporated, a patient scenario. They'd have to read that scenario and demonstrate fluidity. They'd have to listen to directives and be able to follow instructions. Following instructions was one of the biggest things teachers talk about. And then demonstrate at the same time the correct technical skills. So what's really nice about these simulations, when they're done as an assessment, we're bringing in the technical teacher, bringing in the IET teacher, and seeing all of the pieces of IET come together. And then speaking, they would need to write a description of the patient's complaint as a report for the doctor, and then demonstrate that they have professional and industry appropriate communication. So we developed these simulations. What's really exciting is last semester, we actually were able to use them with our phlebotomy class, and every student in the class went through a simulation as a demonstration of their internship readiness. And we had some students that were struggling with comprehension, some students that were struggling with appropriate behavior, and they were both on a spectrum that could benefit from these simulations. And this semester, we're seeing that our MA class is going to use these for internship readiness. So this was a really amazing way for us to kind of handshake all of the work of IET with an assessment that also incorporated technical skills, and work together with the teachers to really, put our stamp on a student who's ready to go out with, these key partners that we've worked so hard to gain. So those are exciting.
I was going to say the funny part of this too, I wanted to mention is in the beginning of this semester, we had a few students who were resistant to doing some IET, and Nikki and I actually kind of came up with these as a way for them to test out, to prove to us that they didn't have to do IET, and nobody did that. So they realized that, oh, guess what? We could go through this IET and actually learn some stuff. We don't know it all. So
and we did share an example of this in the presentation at one of the links, and it's given us amazing material. Amber can mention it for her work in class, the work we're doing also in the labs with the students.
Yeah, so that is part of that 2020 thing that we do. We do a lot of practice with the dialogue, and as simple as it seems, it has really been helpful for the students to come out of their shells and realize that they do have to do this dialogue, and that communication is a very large part of the healthcare field.
This is you, Amber.
Oh, is it? Okay, so sorry. So I thought, wait, right there. So successes, challenges, and looking ahead. So where we feel we've been successful is in all of the growth. We are continually going over what's worked, what's not worked, and growing from that. I think the simulations are a good proof of that. Getting prepared for that and putting all those pieces together, and the scheduling. We have done a great job considering all that we have, and how many programs and how many students we have. I think we've done a really good job with that. The difficulty again is the teacher buy-in. It's more time, more things that we're adding to them. I really see that they're finding out that this is working, but it's still the teacher buy-in. The open lab, it's really hard to get students to go to one more thing. So the open lab has been challenging, and we're really trying to work on that. And then we do have action plans with our students that are falling behind. They do have to go to through an action plan with their professor, and the IT is usually part of that. And then some changes in the new year, definitely going to do more of the sim use, the simulations. That's it. Questions?
Okay, great. Thank you so, so much. I just want to say, Amber and Nikki, fabulous. I'm sorry Heather couldn't be with us, but this was really a great, great presentation. It just shows that, you know, working together and collaborating, the ESL teacher, the CTE teachers, can really make this happen. The fact that you collaborate for your single set of learning objectives, that you emphasize the communication, which is the job of the ESL teacher, and why we're adding them in so that students have this support they need, as you say, especially for the medical profession. All of your orientation and preparation, and the fact that you evaluate every semester and try to make things better and are improving and changing. I mean, it's an incredible program. Thank you so, so much for sharing it. Does anybody have any class questions? We have, at what point do you drop students and allow waiting list students into the phlebotomy class? That's one of these questions.
Nikki,
Can
do
you
you want?
repeat that? Can you repeat that, Lori?
I'm sorry, at what point do you drop students and allow people from the wait list to enter the phlebotomy class or any?
Yeah. So there's a 2-week drop deadline where students get their money back or not. After that, they wouldn't have anyone else come in. As far as the wait list goes, a student would have, they usually say, okay, you got a spot, you have 1 week to pay. And then if they don't, you know, pay for the class, then they would open it for the next person on the waiting list.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? So Nikki and Amber are going to share their slides with me, and then I will send them along to you, and we will be putting this recording up on the Yale Civics support channel so that you and other colleagues can take a look. Are you willing to get emails or questions about your program?
Of course, absolutely.
So
Sure.
appreciate you being role models for everyone else who is trying to make this happen, and you guys have come up with a great, great organization and plan. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So thank you for being at our meeting today. And oops, let me just say thank you to everyone for participating. Here are our Yale Civics team, our emails, etc. If you want to get in touch with us. Thank you, Paul, for your presentation. And I will be sending you the slides and the recording, all of those who on our Yale Civics network list. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you on November 6th.
Great. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. And